March 10th, 2020. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we want to thank you for letting us do a little performance. We are the Saline Young Adult Program. We just finished performing our talent show, and this was our 11th year of doing so. And we had an amazing time doing it. Our students performed beautifully, and this is something they absolutely love, as well as the staff. We just adore this. We think it's an amazing thing. So tonight, we wanted to come and showcase one of our acts, and tonight they're going to be performing the Get Up for you.
So you go first, okay?
Where are your eyes going to be?
Right now, I just need you to get real loose. Get comfortable. Grab your loved ones, or grab your love partner. And if you're by yourself, no worries. Just follow after me. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with do the hold down and get push. Take it to the left now and dip. Boy, they gon' throw down. Take a sip, boy, and then lean back. Put your hips in. Let's have fun. To the left now. To the right. Now take your left hand and put it on your side. Gonna roll your shoulders. Do a flip to the side. This next part's my favorite part. This time to shine. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out and do the hold down and get it. Take it to the left now and dip. Boy, they gon' throw down. Take a sip, boy, and lean back. Put your hips in. Just how you can do it. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Now come down, have a good time. Slide to the left, slide to the right. Do the butterfly, have a good time. Round and round you go. It's time to show it out right now. Take to the floor. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out and do the hold down and get it. Take it to the left now and dip. Boy, they gon' throw down. Take a sip, boy, and lean back. Put your hips in. Take it down now. Take it down now. Take it down now. Take it down now. Bring it up now. Bring it up now. Bring it up now. Bring it up now. Take it down, crisscross. Bring it up now, crisscross. Do whatever you like right there. Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with. Do the hold down and get it. Take it to the left now and dip. Boy, they gon' throw down. Take a sip, boy, and lean back. Put your hips in. That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? It was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? Not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? That was not so bad. That was not so bad, was it? Gonna do the two-step, then cowboy boogie. Grab a sweetheart and spin out with. Do the hold down and get into it. Take it to the left now and dip. Boy, they gon' throw down. Take a sip, boy, then lean back. Put your hips in.
Nice job, everyone. All right, next is the high school music performance.
Alright, so we're a brass quintet from Saline High School. We're going to be playing two pieces, Amazing Grace and Malevolent March. And just going to go around and introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Fulton Collins, I'm a senior, and next year I'm going to be attending U of M for mechanical engineering.
Hi everyone, my name is Erin Rivers. I play the French horn and I'm a senior at Saline High School. And next year I'm studying at Miami University in Ohio and I study marketing with a minor in environmental science.
My name is Morgan Bancher. I'm a senior, I play the trumpet, and next year I'm planning on going down to Bowling Green, down in Ohio. I'm gonna go in as undecided, but I'm hoping to get into something sciencey or finance related.
I'm Ryan Lettman. I play trombone. I'm a senior. Next year I'm going to Michigan State and majoring in human biology.
I'm Noah Sosha. I play trumpet, and I'm a junior, so I'm going to be here next year. Yeah.
Public comment. At this point, we don't have any public comment, which would be on the agenda items, and so we'll move right into the administration report.
Yeah, before I get into my official remarks, I would like to note that we have a long history of Collins kids presenting at the Board of Education. So pending an unfortunate choice by Holden and an expulsion hearing, I think this will be the last time we have a Collins in front of the board. So congratulations, Judy, and your husband. Thank you. Just a couple of quick updates. One, from a strategic framework perspective, we have continued to work through our strategic framework goals. Last Thursday, the 5th of March, we had a meeting in here and kind of had a share out of a midway check-in for goals 1 through 4. And I know goal 4 had a positive meeting last night here. Goal 2, I know we're meeting again on Thursday. So we're continuing to work through that process. And I'm excited that we will have something for the board to look at and consider either the second meeting in April or early in May to look at the revisions that our community members are proposing. We also had 5 DEI listening sessions that took place, including and then an additional 2 more partner sessions that took place. And we are looking to have those results compiled. I do at this point, because I am in a conference room with her all day right now, need to publicly thank Patty Waltz for compiling all of those flip charts from the various forms and really distilling down that information so that we can have a coherent and comprehensive report to the board on April 14th. And would be that. Did have a chance to go see the Newsies performance at the high school, an outstanding performance. I've been the superintendent for 12 years, and I will tell you that it was one of the finest performances that I think we've had, and I was very proud of them. And lastly, I'm not sure if you've heard about something called the coronavirus, or COVID-19. If you have not, we've been sharing some information about that. We continue to monitor that situation. It is a very fluid environment that we are in. We're getting information from our Washtenaw County Health Department, the CDC, and a variety of other sources. We tend to be an organization that follows direct guidance versus maybe winds of change as I continue to see what is going on at the higher ed level. We will continue to monitor that. We do have a Washtenaw County Superintendent meeting this Friday where I intend to get further information about what would be some plans. We're working collaboratively with the SEA and others to talk about what it would look like. So again, we'll continue to keep the community updated relative to that issue.
Oops, great. Board of Education members, this time I'm going to start from that end, and I'll let you go first, Evan, and share what you have going on at the high school.
Not too much updates from the high school, other than thanks for the snow day. Everybody loved it. Talked about it quite a bit. And the class photo day was canceled because of the snow day, but it is going to happen in the coming weeks on Wednesday. Other than that, exams were a big thing ending the second trimester. And students are done stressing about exams, and they're ready to start fresh with the third trimester. Other than that, we're done.
All right. So today, hopefully most of you voted. If not, leave the meeting now and go vote. You have till 8. So when I went to, so I'm in Lodi Township, and a ton of students were there volunteering, high school students. And so that was like super exciting. And I seen familiar faces of people who have come here and presented. So I really liked that civic engagement, and hopefully they get an excused absence for that. And I did get to see and I believe Michael was there as well, the Saline's Got Talent young adult program, and also the Liberty Club was there. And it was fantastic. I actually had never went before, and I'm mad at myself that I haven't gone, because I think they've been doing it for 11 years now, and it was just so entertaining, and I left really excited and energetic. So, and then we've had, since the last board meeting, 4 DEI sessions. And that's not including last night, I believe you mentioned, the youth forum, which was hosted by Pittsfield Township, and it was led by youth in Pittsfield. And that was really great, seeing them and checking in and seeing like if they felt supported or felt other students were supported in the schools, and they felt that that's been going on. So I was happy to hear from them. Yeah, I think that's it.
I also wanted to add that I was at, I think it's the 4th or 5th of 5 listening sessions at Harvest, and I was so impressed with the quality of the activities that were going on there. Also attended the strategic framework reporting out, the preview night, which was pretty impressive. And if I can go back to what Trustee Eastup said about the young adult program, in addition to some parts that were genuinely, absolutely hilarious, in that when the microphones went out on one of the singers, the audience lowered their voices, and they encouraged, and they sang along, and they all pitched in to help the young man get to the end of his song. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful evening, not only for the kids but for the whole community. And so I got to thank them. If you get a chance to see our 2 young adult program teachers, please give them a shout out.
We had a CQC committee meeting on Wednesday, and our topic was a presentation by the League of Women Voters about the census coming up. So I would encourage everyone to fill out your census form when you get it. I also attended several of the listening sessions, and one of the outcomes of one of them, as we talked a little more about community as opposed to schools, and I offered at Summerfest, we have kids games down in Henny Field on Saturday, so there's a lot of room down there. So we suggested that any group that would like to come down to present or give information out to the community, that they would be welcome. So you'll be hearing more about that. That's my event, so I will get some stuff out about that. And last but not least, how to run for the school board meeting, April 8th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Liberty Boardroom. It will be the first session of another one to be scheduled.
Okay. Just a couple of quick things with regards to the listening sessions. I was able to fully participate in the one that we had here at Liberty. It was great to have chats with the facilitators afterwards also and get a lot of feedback from community participants. So thank you to everyone who attended, and was able to stop by quickly between kid events last night up to the high school for our Pittsfield Township forum that the students put on, and I was really proud of the students getting involved and continuing to advocate for solutions and be a part of creating that solution blueprint. Snow Blast was a couple of weeks ago. Had a great time. The Foundation for Saline Area Schools and our Snow Blast Committee did an incredible job. I won't steal any thunder talking about how much money was raised or whatnot, but our community was very, very generous in donating back to our schools and really funding some important grants that will continue over the next couple of years. Committee reports, Dennis will probably talk about finance, but we had our finance committee meeting, talked a little bit about our strategic framework committee number 4 and the importance of that committee. And just a reminder that our sex ed advisory board applications are due by March 27th. If anybody has any questions, Mrs. Teresa Stager and Mrs. Laura Washington are in the back.
Okay, as said, we had our March 2nd Finance Committee meeting. Not a lot of new numbers out. The governor proposed her increase in the state budget for education. But we seem to be still tracking about on budget for year-to-date, but we don't have a lot of updated numbers. Went over the bond activity going on. There's still work going on at the middle school. That seems to be going on budget as far as we know. Also, this Michigan Department of Education puts out this, they call it Bulletin 1014, and it shows all the school districts, and they rank them how they're doing, where they fall in terms of various ways of calculating it. And again, it just confirms that here in Saline, we really put the dollars into the classroom. We have a very limited administrative staff, but that's what we've chosen to do. So I encourage you, this is online, is that correct, Assistant Superintendent Owsley? So you can go online, you can take a look at that, and just see how we rank there. That's about it.
So I attended the Foundation of Saline Area School meeting this morning, and I didn't attend the snow blast. I know Jennifer did. Yeah, great. But it did sound like it was a success, and they really talked about the online bidding and how well that actually went for them this year. Ann Hurst did tell me I could steal her thunder and tell how much they raised, and they raised $78,000 for the school, so that was a big number. They're also preparing their kindergarten roundup on April 16th and planning their board retreat for April 25th. Also, Heritage School and Saline Middle School Parent Camp will be Tuesday, April 7th at 6 o'clock to 7:30 at Heritage Schools. Got some stuff I can pass out for that here. So, is that good enough for you? And that's all.
All right, and then we have Mr. Graydon and I will be presenting at the.
We got an email this afternoon.
We will not be presenting. Oops, sorry, because of coronavirus. Okay, fine.
The conference is going on, but the group we were presenting with has pulled out and said they're not going to be sending. So. See,
I should have had my phone with me today.
As I was walking there.
Okay. All right. We're not presenting. So other things are spring sports aren't they starting out? Yep. So I want to, and the playoffs also. I don't know if there's any reports on any of that you'd like to make.
Yeah, we did. Our basketball team, our boys basketball team lost last night. I don't have a current score, but our girls basketball team was rolling hard over Westland. They won? All right. So I would encourage everyone to head to Dexter on Thursday, the 12th of March. Laura and Jesse will be taking over the Goal 2 group, as Superintendent Graydon will be attending the regional final of the girls basketball tournament.
Excellent. A lot of exciting stuff happening. That's very cool. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed. Is that moved? And support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, the same. Motion carries 7-0. Scheduled reports. MTSS report.
Yep, we will call Carolyn Stout to the front to the multi-tiered system of support, or the MTSS report.
All right. MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered System of Support. You may recall I did a quick update last year, hoping to make this an annual thing, just to kind of keep you all informed. So let's start with this. It might look a little familiar. If our goal is for students to leave us with all these wonderful things, we know that there's a number of things we need to layer in, a number of supports we need to layer in, and a whole lot of work that needs to go into instruction in order to get there by the time we graduate with us. The way that we illustrate the multi-tiered system of support, I don't know where it stands, so I'm not in the way of somebody, is with triangles. So tier 1, the green part of the triangle, represents the foundation for everything we do. So making sure that our core instruction, whether it's in academic or social behavioral, emotional concepts, is really solid so that it can reach as many students as possible. That it takes into consideration students' backgrounds, that it is differentiated, that it is evidence-based, and all those wonderful things. What we know, though, is even if we do our very best there, which there's always work, there's always things to improve, there will always be some students who need a little extra boost. Much like some of us in adulthood need a little physical therapy once in a while, make sure our body works as well as it possibly can. Some students will need a little bit of an extra boost. We call that tier 2. So a little bit of kind of moderate amount of intervention for about 10 to 15% of our students within general education. And then some might need a little more intensive intervention. So the higher you go in the triangle and in the tiers, the more intensive the instruction. Generally, the more time is spent, generally the smaller the group. And we want to make sure that we can provide that for all students whenever they need it, without needing to qualify for special education or having disability, so that they can make sure to go back to not needing it anymore. So the arrows represent how we monitor whether we're doing a good job with this. That the more we return students to no longer needing us, the more we work ourselves out of job, the better we're doing. I also added a visual representation for special education supports. Those are typically seen as kind of beyond tier 3, so even more intensive than that. And our EL support, so our support for English learners, which can happen really at any point. Some students, again, need a little bit for a short period of time, and some students need more. Some students have those in addition to receiving tier 2 or tier 3 support. And this model applies equally to academics as it does to behavior. So the academic side is sometimes referred to as RTI, or response to intervention, and the behavior side is referred to as PBIS, or positive behavior intervention supports. The point of PBIS is not to say that we are going to have a strict set of rules by which everyone has to just fall in line around, but rather it's to work together as a group to discuss and support each other in the ways that we can have positive behavior together, basically make the most out of the time that we're here. And we'll have more on that. So what's new for this year? We've been trying to reach more parents and guardians in helping them support their students. So we've done a series of workshops at Mizrape, specifically to reach some of our Spanish-speaking parents who might not be able to make as much of maybe parent conferences. So we have interpreters there. We work really closely with our Yale department, which is great. We've had a lot more meetings and conversation with all of those working towards making, especially our K-5 instruction, as solid as can be. I've had the pleasure of having a lot of meetings with Miranda and learning a lot more about finances. And I'm really proud to say that thanks to this MTSS work, we've brought in an additional $300-some thousand in the past 5 years. That's on top of things like Title I, 31A, at-risk funds. Those are specific grants for districts doing this MTSS work. We also have some things that are new per building. So at Pleasant Ridge, we have math supports in place for all grades. And we've had a mini research study going in 2nd grade for a couple of years, and we've had our highest performance this winter. So we're really excited. We think we've found some really nice ways to structure and kind of close some of the gaps with everyday math. And I should also mention that although the model is called MTSS, if you see it on the building schedule, the time that this intervention is provided is going to have different names. So it's called Best Fit at Woodland Meadows and Pleasant Ridge. It's called Win at Harvest, and it's called Team Time at Heritage. So during Best Fit time, we also try to destigmatize that extra intervention support while offering some extension activities for students who are on the upper end of the bell curve. And so in most cases, all students move. So again, it doesn't matter what you need. Hopefully this can give you kind of a little extra boost beyond the curriculum. At Harvest, we have a new coordinator, Amanda Bull, this year, who's been fantastic and who's been working with me and Katie O'Keefe to put on these EL parent workshops at Mizrape. And at Woodland, that team has actually been going across the parking lot to Heritage to help with our pilot there. So a quick update in numbers. This is, as of right now, the number of K-8 students who have received some form of intervention since the fall of 2014 alone. So we're really proud of that. Again, it doesn't mean that, you know, some of those couldn't have been okay without it, but much like physical therapy, we like to think that we really maximize their learning. That's a pretty big chunk. That's about 1/3 of our K-8 students. So if we take a sample of our current 4th graders and we look at those who've received support, this whole part here represents students who've had some sort of extra boost of Tier 2 or Tier 3 intervention at some point since they were in kindergarten with us. This big chunk here represents those that left 3rd grade no longer needing that support, which is what we want. This little slice here are those who still need a little bit of Tier 2 support, Tier 3 support, and that slice those who ended up qualifying for an IEP at some point in that K-3 time. Does that make sense? We're in year 2 of our MTSS pilot at Heritage. We're really excited. We have about half of the teachers participating now, and we have tremendous buy-in with the teachers. We've kind of broken up the year into like 4 cycles of this, where students regroup every 6 to 8 weeks about. Teachers are very involved. Sometimes the general teacher has been taking an intervention group, which is really neat. We've been doing some really cool extension activities. Well, they've been, I've been taking credit. And it's involved a whole lot of staff outside of the general education teachers working collaboratively. So that's been really neat. And we're also proud of our data. So this group represents the students who start off the year receiving Tier 2 reading intervention. And these students start off the year receiving Tier 3 reading intervention. And these are their needs now. So green meaning that they close the gap completely, no longer need that support. Yellow means that they are continuing to work in intervention to close that gap. And here we've had some of our students go from Tier 2 to Tier, from Tier 3 to Tier 2, and some go all the way back to Tier 1, which is great. So, so far I've talked a lot about the academic side of things, but we know that if this is our goal, it's going to take more than focusing on academics to get there. And we've had a lot of discussion over the last couple of years about the number of students who are struggling with anxiety, trauma, more basic needs being met. And not just students, but also staff. And so we started off by trying to inventory all the practices and initiatives that we had in place to support students basically beyond academics. And it was a pretty overwhelming list, so overwhelming that we as staff really kind of struggled to understand how they all fit together. In some cases, know which initiative to kind of volunteer for, or which training to get. So we've been working on a model that I'm going to show you and get your feedback. That basically has for central theme the need to humanize the student and staff experience. And by humanize, we mean to strive for each student and staff to feel welcomed and affirmed for who they are in our schools, while they're on this journey with us until we get to hopefully that day when they can graduate with the compass and go and be successful whatever they choose to do. So we have tried to organize the current practices and initiatives and found kind of 3 broad categories that they fall into. Social behavior and communication, which has to do kind of with externalizing behaviors. Emotional and physical health, which has more to do with internalizing things, and emotional and social health being interconnected. But then also the need to connect and empower. So for students and staff to feel that they belong here, that they connect, and that they are empowered for who they are. So a couple other things about it. There are some practices that didn't fit neatly into one of the 3 triangles, but that kind of related to 2. So those are floating in between the 2 triangles. And the triangles are meant to somewhat mimic an MTSS model in that the practices down here are things that we do for all. And those that are towards the top and have an asterisk are those that we have for students who are struggling, who need a little bit of extra help in that area. So this is supposed to be an interactive tool to help first us understand what we're doing, what all these buzzwords mean, but also to be able to see where they connect so that we can be more effective and see where our gaps are. So you have that presentation hopefully. If you click on this, it takes you to a PDF and all the words are clickable. So everything has an explanation tied to it. So if you're wondering what's going on with DI or what check and check out means, what social thinking means, There will be a slide for that and a presentation I made that explains more about what it is, where to find more information, which schools are doing it or which grade levels are doing it, and if relevant, a contact person. Any questions or honest thoughts on this?
I do have a couple of things. One is, one of the opportunities I've had is the heritage group that's continued to expand. I guess if you can elaborate a little bit about what that looks like as it relates to, these are students who, or I guess the content and or the skill level continues to progress and we're starting to move faster. How has that gone this year? I know last year there was a lot of excitement around it, and this year, what's it look like?
Does it look like from the student or the staff perspective?
Both, to a degree.
Laura, feel free to jump in at any point. I feel like there's still been some really nice momentum around the staff. We've tried really hard to make sure that we have frequent check-in meetings too, so that we're trying something new. We're kind of going outside of our comfort zone, but we're all in this together. And we've also had a couple celebrations, which I think has been helpful from the staff perspective. The new people that have been brought on, I think, are really getting it.
And like it, and are doing well with it. I think that was the thing is that, so last year we had, our early onboarders, right, and they jumped in and they were really excited about it. And then this year we asked people to jump on board and they did willingly and not without a learning curve. But it has gone really, really well.
And from the student perspective, one of our focuses is to make sure that the students are not only learning in here, but are really enjoying time. So we've tried to collect some feedback there too. And in fact, I was at your literacy night and got to be one of the booths and saw some students, and that was my question every time. What do you think of you done? And so far, so good. We've had some students who, regardless of which group they're in, are excited to be able to do some things literacy related that go beyond the curriculum, that are either project based or that maybe target some things that by now they know are hard for them. By the time they're in 4th and 5th grade, they're pretty aware of the things that are difficult. So I think that they're grateful for that small group and that opportunity in a safe place to deepen their learning.
And for that 30 minutes, I think they really are getting exactly what they need, and that feels really empowering to students.
Okay, I applaud you for working on it because at that level, as we all know, that the age group that is at Heritage has some new challenges as they transition from a K-3 environment to really what's next for them. And so I think to your point about the social anxiety they may feel around those challenges. So if we're attacking those in small group things, I applaud your work. And I know it's quiet work. I know the staff there has done a lot of work, and getting that kind of buy-in at that age group is not always easy. So good work.
And I think it started with the title. It is team time, and that was really important to the staff, is to make it feel like a cohesive unit. We're part of a team. This is your group. This is this is what we're doing. And the students really bought into that very, very well, and they're really enjoying that time.
And I think we learned some things too that honestly I want to take back to the K-3s. Like every adult working there, whether they're a paraeducator or a teacher or a tutor, is a team time teacher. And the students move around, and like I said, sometimes their team time teacher is their regular teacher, but they're in a group of 3 students. And so it's been, we really worked hard to send a message. Like, we all need some help sometimes, and this is just part of how we do business.
I'll build off that because I'm a Heritage mom. So I know a lot of 4th and 5th graders. I've had a lot of students talk to about team time to me, and it's been very positive. They also, like Laura said, like the name, look forward to it. I think the communication to the parents has been good. So my question to build off the Heritage theme is, to your pilot, what's next for those 4th and 5th graders coming up?
It's a great question. And we would love to, ultimately, I think the dream is to expand it all school. I don't know if we're there yet. Just based on, we would have to take a look at the budget, we would have to take a look at what that would look like and all of the logistical things that go along with it. But right now, it's half of our building moves in some way, shape, or form at different times throughout the day. So we're a step closer than where we were, and thanks to our Woodland Meadows friends who have helped us out with that as well. It's been a really fantastic partnership. So it's just a matter of the next, to your point, what is the next step?
I also feel like part of the success is because it has been optional and slow. So I think, I'm not in a position where I am going to be forcing it on anyone, but I think, we're going to save that discussion for who's in for next year for probably, after spring break? Yeah. After the coronavirus, whatever. Thank you. Oh,
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Thank you for collecting all this information, and because you hear about Best Fit and just different programs in different elementary schools, and not knowing about those, right? So I'm excited about this and to dig into it. And I have a question about the 3rd grade reading law that we're all trying to avoid and hope that it goes away. Are you all preparing for that? Gotten information?
Great question. Yeah, so what was it, 2 years ago, Steve? Steve did a really good job of kind of doing an overview for the parents. The good news about the reading law is everything except the retention basically is this. Not necessarily that, but where's my triangle? This. So basically the law mandated that districts do this. And we were fortunate that we've been already doing this for about 8 years. Absolutely everything in there had to do with implementing evidence-based practices, the kind of screening that we do, the kind of tools that we use, the format that we use, the communication with parents. So really the pieces that we've added, I appreciate, Stephen, that you said to do a decent job with parent communication, because I feel like we're constantly failing in that respect. And we always sent home letters, we always had conversations between teachers and parents of what was happening, but it did make us add another layer. So now we have what's called IRIPs, so individual reading improvement plans, and read at home plans, which we've tried to streamline and make as beneficial as possible, but they basically outline in the law that if you have a student who is significantly struggling enough that they really require kind of that tier 3 plus intervention, that you have not just intervention provided in conversation with parents, but that you have a plan together, almost kind of like a 5-4 plan or an action plan where you agree these are the things that are happening at school, these are the things that are happening at home. You draft that, you sign it, it's much more official and kind of legally binding. And then we review those every couple months. So basically every time we have kind of a big assessment period. So we've worked with the K3 principals to do that. I think we've done a decent job of making it, taking the helpful parts of the law. And then the only really big downside to the law is this whole retention piece. And for that, our district has been, and I'm very grateful for this, very vocal about the fact that retention is not a research-based intervention, that it is not supported as a good strategy, that we're not going to do it, and we're standing strong with a lot of other districts in that. And even when we look at our numbers, the number of students who would potentially be recommended to be retained is very, very small. And it's basically retention or a plan in place to address it, and we have plans in place now, especially with the heritage pilot. So honestly, it's all good for now.
Thank you.
Ms. Dowd, I just want to say I appreciate it as much as it's important to improve reading and writing skills. I do appreciate that all the way through your presentation with references to the whole child and all the various things that are affecting whatever learning goes on in the classroom. And yeah, that second to last slide that's it. And I just want to thank you for keeping a focus on that. There are a lot of moving parts, and there are things that you can't anticipate from day to day that are affecting these kids. So thank you so much.
I just wanted to say one other thing, and I think the connections that I see happening between the students and the teachers or the instructors and the family, those connections are really, really important. And so I love seeing how, the team time and ways to connect with kids so nobody really gets lost or swept under the rug. There's really people paying attention to all that, and that really does make a difference for every child. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, so I failed to follow my own agenda here, and We had a response to public comment that I did not read. The response to public comment is we want to thank the community for sharing their concerns during the public comment. We appreciate the respectful way the community addressed the board. Questions regarding special ed is being addressed by the administration. As you can see, even by this presentation, that we do really care about each of those children. And so we're working really hard to make sure that that is happening. So moving on, discussion items. We have public participation policy 0167.3, and I just want to let you know that's on the agenda for a discussion simply because we had a discussion about it last time, but we didn't come to full consensus. And so we have distributed for our board to review the comments that we had discussed the last time. There were some that we weren't in total agreement yet, but we will be discussing those at the next board meeting. And so just so you know that in our work session, that's when we discuss those things. And so it's distributed today. I wanted to make sure that we explained what's happening. So the work sessions will be where we dig into, making sure we all are in agreement on exactly what we're voting on. And so that's distributed to everybody for us to review, and it'll be discussed next time. So if there's any questions, that's what that was about. Any concern about that process from our board here?
I just had a clarification, not a concern. On the back side for item J, we had discussed last time that it was a technical error, so will that be changed, or is that part of the discussion for the working session?
We had said, I believe last time, that we're going to vote on that. I recall Paul maybe mentioning that.
I guess I don't understand. J is in the current policy.
So changing it to will instead of may, but in the current policy it says may, so it'll have to go for a vote.
Yeah, if you want to change it to will, I'm assuming we'll have that discussion as we discuss the rest next time.
Versus voting on each piece and continuing for a year.
Yes.
Right, but J is in the current policy.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. My question was the will. So when we discuss and vote, it'll be on the entire, not individual sections.
And then I wanted to add, for next time, it's going to be sent out this week for review. But we also have a drafted policy of bylaws and policies. So talking about the committee of the whole and kind of those changes. So there's a draft of that that'll be coming out, and that will also put that on the agenda for next time for discussion.
Great. All right. Consent agenda. The following are offered as part of the consent agenda. The motion noted will allow for the authorization of all listed items without discussion unless a member of the board requests that any one or all be considered individually. I would like to entertain a motion to move to authorize the following items as part of the consent agenda. Approval of the regular Board of Education meeting of February 25th, 2020. Approval of the Board Finance Committee meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2020. Approval of payment of the general fund accounts payable of March 10th, 2020 in the amount of $903,268.37. Approval of payment of bond funds Series 2 accounts payable of March 10th, 2020 in the amount of $113,335.83, and receive and file the March Curriculum, Finance, and Human Resources reports.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Motion carries 7-0. Items scheduled on the next agenda.
Lots of policy discussion.
Lots of policy discussion.
We will have a closed session that will be the quarterly superintendent review as well at the end.
Great. This is the second time for public comment, and do we have any forms? No forms. It must be a beautiful day, and you all want to get out and enjoy it, or go
Sun did come
vote,
out.
or something like that. So, our next meeting, Board of Education, will be held March 24th at 6:30 p.m. here in the Liberty School Boardroom. And I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Support.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried, 7-0. Thank you all.